Coming up on Arirang News, South Korean President Moon Jae-in meets with the country's business leaders to look for ways to overcome COVID-19. Promising the support of the government, he urges cooperation between companies and between labor and management. South Korea's household consumer spending was down by 10% in the first quarter, the biggest drop since 2003. And the income gap continued to widen as middle-income households earned more. And South Korea continues to report cases of the coronavirus, which has prompted some schools to close just a day after they open. But the authorities say education must continue along with preventative measures. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. South Korea reported 12 new cases of COVID-19 on Thursday, bringing the daily figure back up into the teens. The cases popping up are linked to one of Seoul's major hospitals and to nightclubs. This prompted some schools to close again, but the government says education must continue hand in hand with efforts to contain the disease. Lee Kyung-eun has the latest.
The number of newly confirmed cases is back in the teens, but with a series of infections among students, some schools in South Korea are shutting down again. On Thursday, only the second day that high school seniors have been back at school, one institution in the southeastern city of Daegu has sent home all its students after one of them was confirmed to be infected with COVID-19. On the previous day, 66 schools in the city of Incheon shut down following the infection of 2 students. But the health officials said that education must go on along with proper disease prevention measures.
The seniors' education must go hand in hand with disease prevention efforts. We believe that the current policies will continue with the active participation of citizens.
In line with that, the country is considering expanding a free vaccine for food to high school seniors so that COVID-19 patients can be more easily detected. The 2 students in Incheon who caught the disease contracted it from a singing booth, which is part of a series of cases that can be traced back to a private academy teacher who caught the disease at a nightclub in Seoul's Itaewon neighborhood. One of the students who caught the disease from the teacher went to the singing booths, and from that point, several other cases have been reported, including a 1-year-old baby. With that, starting Thursday, Incheon city government has imposed a 2-week de facto shutdown of all singing booths while also banning students from entering other types of singing room. Health officials will also closely monitor bars, private academies, and the military, where most of 206 Itaewon-related cases are concentrated. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
The World Health Organization has praised South Korea's response to the COVID-19 outbreak. The WHO Director General Dr. Tedros said Wednesday that South Korea's experience with MERS helped it implement an impressive contact tracing and quarantine regime.
It has been particularly impressive to see how countries like the Republic of Korea have built on their experience of MERS to quickly implement a comprehensive strategy to find, isolate, test, and care for every case and trace every contact.
Dr. Tedros also highlighted the rising number of cases in low- and middle-income countries, urging more efforts globally. Today, President Moon Jae-in sat down with business leaders from South Korea's 9 key industries to discuss ways to overcome the COVID-19 crisis. Moon stressed the need for cooperation between companies and between labor and management, and he promised that the government will also be doing its part to support them. Kim Min-ji reports.
President Moon Jae-in stressed the need to protect jobs and overcome the COVID-19 crisis, vowing to swiftly push ahead with the so-called Korean New Deal and prepare for a digital age. Moon met on Thursday with the CEOs of 17 companies from 9 industries that have been hit hard, as well as representatives from the country's business lobby groups.
경제 회복과 미래 경쟁력 확보, 일자리 지키기와 고용 안전망 확대에 총력을 기울이겠습니다. 코로나로 가속화된 디지털 경제 시대는 더 과감하고 빠른 변화를 요구합니다.
President Moon said the government has already drawn up a support package worth roughly $200 billion, about 13% of the country's GDP, to support the ailing industries such as aviation, shipbuilding, and automobile. More help is on its way, he said, as the government prepares a 3rd supplementary budget. President Moon also vowed to help foster the human resources that will be required in new industries, such as AI and future cars. He said the government will help them participate in joint research programs with global universities, research institutes, and companies.
정부와 경제계 간의 협력은 물론 업종 간, 대기업과 중소기업 간, 노사 간 협력이 절실합니다. 산업 생태계 전체를 지킨다는 비상한 각오로 일자리를 지키고 우리 산업과 경제를 반드시 살려야 합니다.
Moon said he was confident that South Korea will overcome the industrial crisis and that through concerted efforts between firms, the government, and the people, it will become a global leader in the era of the digital economy. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Kim Se-wan, Professor of Economics at Ewha Women's University. Professor Kim, thank you so much for coming on today.
Good afternoon, Devin.
Well, stocks in the U.S. have been up and down this week. Overnight, they recovered most of their losses from Tuesday. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, United States is approaching a milestone in coronavirus pandemic as all 50 states have now begun reopening. In retrospect, the shutdown was an inevitable measure to curb the contagion, but it gave a huge loss to U.S. economy and global economy too. So reopening was a long-awaited good news to Wall Street. Dow Jones Industrial increased by 1.5%, and Nasdaq also increased by 2.1% yesterday. Due to this warm breeze from United States, European markets also increased around 1% level yesterday over London, Paris, and Frankfurt's market.
Well, the Kospi here in Korea is up today as well, breaking through the 2,000-point mark for the first time in 3 months, which, of course, was before the coronavirus situation really had its impact. What's the story there?
As expectations on U.S. economy is turning to positive in today's Korean market, the market also had a positive momentum, and it is led by domestic individual investors' active purchase. In morning trade session, actually, Kospi temporarily exceeded 2,000 level, which is the Kospi before the coronavirus outbreak. In today's market, Kospi had 0.4% daily return, and Kosdaq had 1% daily return.
Well, now, turning to some other data, the producer price index for April continued to decline, carrying on from the 2 previous months. Explain for us why that is and what it means.
Bank of Korea announced that April's producer price index decreased by 0.7% on a monthly basis and 1.5% on annual basis. This producer price index drop is simply the largest drop in history starting from 1965. So it is pretty sure that this deflation in producer price level is generated by weakened domestic demand and oil price drop. Decreased price level in both producer level will spread to consumer price level in next 2 to 3 months. So we should be watching these 2 price indexes, producer price level and consumer price level closely, because that could be an important signal for upcoming long deflation.
Right. Well, we see now that Korea's exports in the first 20 days of May were down 20% from the same period last year. Tell us a bit more about that and also your outlook for exports.
Korean export is quickly declining after COVID-19 outbreak. According to government's calculation, this month export decreased by 20% compared to the same month last year. This is kind of understandable situation because Korea's all major export partners like U.S. and Vietnam are in trouble with COVID-19, and they shut down many of their production and imports from Korea. The hardest hit industries are automobiles and petrochemicals. So in the case of automobile, export decreased by 59%. That is almost 60%. And petrochemical export decreased by 69%. But on the other hand, the largest export item, semiconductor export, has been increased by 13% this month.
Now, the big story yesterday was the Korea Development Institute downgrading its forecast for Korea's GDP growth this year to just 0.2%. Hope there that maybe it won't fall below zero. What's your view, Professor?
KDI, a state-affiliated think tank, has presented economic growth outlook with positive 0.2% this year and rebounding 3.9% next year, 2021. KDI's economic growth outlook is in sharp contrast to private institutions and international organizations whose economic growth outlooks remain in negative level. But it should be pointed out that KDI's economic growth outlook is based on the assumption that global economy will decline only in the first half of this year and then recover from the second half. But I have to say that not every economist agrees on this KDI's assumption. The majority of economists is saying that it would be very difficult to bring out recovery during the second half of this year.
So a bit too much on the optimistic side there, perhaps. But Professor Kim, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your insights today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, the pandemic has hit South Korea's consumer spending and at the same time widened the income gap. Average consumer spending by households fell in the first quarter by the most since nationwide records were first compiled in 2003. According to Statistics Korea, monthly average spending fell to around $1,200, which is a drop of 10% compared to the first quarter last year. People spent the least in the clothing category, followed by education and entertainment. Meanwhile, the income gap continued to widen in the first quarter. Those in the lowest income bracket saw their income stay about the same on average, while those in the middle bracket saw an on-year increase of 6.3%. The pandemic's made it hard or even impossible to hold face-to-face business meetings, especially with partners overseas. But small South Korean companies have found ways to stay afloat and meet buyers using non-contact platforms with the help of the Startups Ministry. Kim Sung-min reports.
A food company that has created kimchi and bulgogi flavored powders and wants to sell this abroad has struggled to find buyers due to the COVID-19 outbreak. To help companies like this one, South Korea's Ministry of SMEs and Startups has come up with a creative solution. It is an online trade exhibition where firms use a booth and screen to have meetings with foreign buyers. The Ministry of SMEs and Startups plans to support non-contact fields in which venture startups take a major role so that South Korea can lead such non-contact fields around the world. Around 400 foreign buyers have canceled face-to-face product displays and meetings due to COVID-19. But thanks to this online event, the director of a kitchen appliance company met 3 buyers from 3 countries all in the same day.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, all regular marketing channels have been blocked. But today, I met buyers from Malaysia, Indonesia, and China, and 2 of the meetings seemed very successful.
From Indonesia to China and Myanmar to Russia, more than 40 companies from 11 countries participated in Wednesday's event.
So this is a very, good opportunity. But technically, it will be much better if we can have a face-to-face. But then alternatively also we can, life still must go on.
To help manufacturers connect with foreign buyers, translators were placed inside each booth. And the ministry is providing free delivery for samples sent to interested buyers. This online trade exhibition runs for 10 rounds in total between April and July, giving more than 500 companies the opportunity to find potential overseas business partners. Kim Sung-min, Arirang News.
South Korea's COVID-19 test kits continue to be in high demand globally. According to the Korea Customs Service, from January to last month, exports of the kits jumped from just $3,400 to more than $200 million. More than 70 kinds of test kits from Korea have been approved to be shipped overseas. They're being imported by more than 100 countries. Samsung Electronics is building another memory chip production line in South Korea as part of an ambitious plan to lead the global market. This foundry will use extreme ultraviolet or EUV technology to make chips using process nodes of 5 nanometers and below for cutting-edge technologies like AI and 5G. It'll be set up at the Samsung plant in the city of Pyeongtaek, just south of Seoul, and start operating in 2021. Samsung plans to inject a total of some $108 billion to the project. The chipmaker already has an EUV production line in the city of Hwaseong. That brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.